Welcome to Dependable Flame, where we explore vintage petrol lighters, ashtrays, tobacconiana, and other useful mechanisms. Make yourself at home. Today we are going to change the wick and wadding in this vintage AMES aluminum block petrol lighter. We talked about this on the live stream on Wednesday, and I wasn't certain, but I looked it up after we were done. I said I thought that was AMES, and that is the name that is stamped on there. Not only that, but the incomplete stamp doesn't seem to be all that uncommon, as both examples that were shown with photographs on the Toledo Bend website had similarly mismarked stamps. So apparently no big deal that E and S are not completely showing up there on that stamp. It's a pretty small lighter, shouldn't contain a whole lot of wadding. So we're going to start just by pulling out the wadding. I imagine we will use a variety of the tools that we have here available to us, and that first piece of cotton came out just fine with the tweezers. Looks like the second piece is a little bit bigger than the first. It does feel like there's still more down there. I'm going to go ahead and pull this wick out. Definitely an old wick, somewhat contaminated looking. So hopefully the new wick that we put down in here will give us a little bit better opportunity for ignition. And it does feel like there's still more wadding down here. And I would really like for it to come out in one piece, but it's not going to. But it looks like it did come out in just a couple of pieces. Still another piece down there at least. You can feel the end of those tweezers are hitting something softer than metal. And it did tear just a little. Looks like that's going to be all we have. As our pick there will poke all the way through, and you can see the hole down there in the bottom. So rather than tying a wire onto one of David's wicks, I'm just going to use this IMCO wick that I have here available. If you have David's wicks and you've seen my video on tying the wire around them, fairly simple to do. But if you have an IMCO wire lead wick, these that are made in China, then it should be relatively simple. I want to go ahead and straighten that out. I had it curved from whatever lighter I had used that in before. Get that straightened up as best we can so that hopefully we can grab it with the needle nose pliers if we need to. So wire lead down the chimney, wick following it, and there you see the wire, so we won't even need to use the needle nose or any other pair of pliers. We will close that, and that should be as much as we're going to need. So we can cut this, I think no more room is in there, and use this IMCO wick for another lighter. And trim that off. So we still got our wick there with the length we need above. And you can see there wasn't much wadding that came out of there. So we're just going to thin down some of this organic cotton. And I think maybe one length like that hopefully will do it. Just a straight bore right down through the middle of that lighter. We will take a little bit of the wick down with it, and then keep the end of the wick right here at the base so that it is reaching all the way down. And you can see that is packed in very densely, and there's not going to be a whole lot more feed down in there, so we will go ahead and tear that off, set aside the remainder, and then see the end of that wick there. Get this cotton packed down into that lighter, down into the body of the tank. Get our fuel open and fuel it up. Shouldn't take a whole lot of fuel. Kind of curious just to see how this particular lighter functions and what kind of fuel economy it gets. Pretty nifty. It's got a hex screw for the flint spring screw and a hex key built into the fuel screw so that you can tighten or adjust it. No fuel standing in there right now, so it looks like it is still absorbing it. When it gets to the point that it is fully absorbed and looks like it's just pooling there, then we'll dump the rest of it out, cap it, and see what we can do about firing it up. I think that is close enough that we won't need to dump the excess. Go ahead and replace our flint spring screw. Yeah, looks like we're going to have to get our wadding down there a little bit further. Either that or pull a small amount of it back out. And it's not going to tighten down, so we would just pull a small amount of it back out. Get our wick pulled back there out of the way so that we can get to the cotton wadding. And we're not going to have to pull much of it out, but we are going to have to pull out more than that. There we go. Finally get a hold of enough of it. See the wick there, wadding there, and we will trim off enough of that so that the entirety of our fill screw will fit down in there with that integrated tool, and we'll tighten all the way down. Which that looks perfect. So here we have a re-wicked and re-wadded AMES aluminum block petrol lighter, most likely from the 1940s, late 1940s, early 1950s. Nice drilled out windscreen. And you can see the spark. We've got our wick bloomed out here. Just need to get enough fuel vapor built up here in the ignition area. And there we go. A re-wicked and re-wadded AMES aluminum block petrol lighter. Until next time.